Good evening, everyone. We are back with another Disney review, up to number 52 today, with the cultural phenomenon, the film that got 1.2 billion, over 1.2 billion at the box office, winner of the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, and just everything. It's Frozen. In case you didn't see the background, in case you didn't see the title. Probably the most prolific Disney film since the Renaissance, I want to say, maybe. Certainly the most popular. For a time, was the highest grossing animated film, overtook Lion King, and then was beaten again by Lion King, the live action version, but it's computer animated, so it technically counts as an animated film, and then that beat out Frozen. So we've come to it at last. I think this is going to be the most interesting review that we've done out of all the Disney films, and the reason for that is because pretty much for the last 51, we've been mostly in tune with some of our opinions. We may have differed on a few things here and there, but very
Notre Dame was one.
Yeah, so that was I said that was my favorite, didn't I? Or the one that I thought was the best, and you were kind of a little bit lukewarm on it. So yeah, maybe on that one, but this one we fundamentally disagree on it. So this is almost going to be a review, but I feel like this one's going to be more of a friendly debate of Frozen. So that's probably a teaser to what I think of the film, maybe. But yeah, I want to hear from everyone else what your thoughts are on Frozen. I think a lot of people are going to like this one. Well, judging by 1.2 billion, I would expect that a lot of people do like this one.
This is where we get the other end. Everyone's just hate on it.
Yeah,
like they're just completely the other end of it. We're like, we managed to find the 10 people in the world that don't like it.
Yes. Well, we've had 2 comments so far. Brian says, I like Frozen. It's a good movie. Also like how Rapunzel and Flynn Rider have a cameo in this movie. Yeah, we talked about this the other weeks. I mean, there have probably been some Easter eggs in some of the previous ones that we've done, but we haven't noticed many for a long time. You know how Disney do the little Easter eggs and cameos of other Disney stuff in there? Unless I'm forgetting a major one. But I don't think we've had that for the last couple of weeks.
That's what I mean. Because we said this, and there's probably little ones that we've just not noticed. But yeah, I feel because the thing is, Wreck-It Ralph, it had loads of video game ones. So would it have had any Disney ones?
It must have done at some point. It must have done. But yeah, no, I couldn't spot any.
I'm just intrigued that we had one with a Final Fantasy reference. I was like, oh,
yes,
that was cool.
It was Aerith, wasn't it? Aerith Lives or something.
Aerith,
it was on some graffiti. Aerith, yeah. You can tell I'm not a Final Fantasy guy. And we got Carl, who says, evening, guys. How you doing, man? Hopefully you are ready for some Frozen discussion. We always start these things with the first time that we watch this film. I'm going to start with you, Dale, because my story isn't very interesting with this one. So do you remember the first time you watched Frozen?
I don't think it was, to be fair, I don't think it was that interesting. But I remember years ago when I first... got a job at HMV over Christmas. It was obviously it was Christmas and people come in buying Frozen, and I was like, okay, cool. And the amount of people that were, at that point I think I was 19, I'd say. I don't know. I'd just come out of college, and it wasn't I hadn't really heard of it. It wasn't it was kind of I probably heard it in the background. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh, is this a brand new movie at that point? Because the amount of people are buying it, and I think it was a year old, and I was like, oh, people are still buying it heavily. And I was like, oh, it's a Christmas movie. And then I think it took me until probably the year later again to actually watch it, and I heard people saying, oh, it's great, and I thought, well, it's just gonna be another Disney movie, it's gonna be cool. But I watched it and I was like, this is a very good movie. And it's because I am a firm believer there's not really a bad song in it. There's better songs, there's worse songs, and if you compile them, you're like, that song's not that great in comparison. But a lot of the time, they're just overall great songs in the whole movie.
I'm waiting for the moment to jump. I'm waiting for the moment to jump in. There are some good songs in this film. I will agree. There are some not so great ones in this film. I'm looking at Fixer Upper, but we'll get to that one later. That is the equivalent to me of the Gargoyle song from
Do you know what,
Notre Dame.
It's weird. This is probably why that I made the comparison in my head, but obviously because the Trolls say it, it reminds me of that movie Trolls.
Yes.
It might be why, but also because that was a bit silly and it wasn't but again, it was I mean, I watched that movie once. It's not like I'm a big fan of that movie. I watched it once with, a little kid. because of like there were reasons. I didn't just randomly like start watching it with a little kid or anything. But like I watched it with like my friend's kid, and I was like, this isn't too bad. And that's what that kind of song probably is. It's that kind of it's not too bad, but it still maintains it's not like a bad song to be in the movie. There's not really any properly forgettable. Every single one I'd remember.
I feel like this. I'm going to come back to this when we talk about the score and the music later, but I feel like this film almost has too many songs. I feel like it's very overstuffed. I feel like they could have trimmed a few out. The songs get a little bit samey after a while for me. I'll talk about that when we get to the music. But yeah, this film for me, I was really late to the party with this one actually. But with Frozen, the hype for this one was impossible to avoid. This thing was everywhere. I feel like this was in the cinema for a crazy amount of time as well. It almost felt like it was in the cinema for like a fucking year or something, and it periodically comes back around Christmas time and whatnot. I do think this film has that going for it as well because of the winter theme, because of the snow and whatnot. It feels like the snowman character Olaf and whatnot. It very much feels like it's a Christmas film as well.
And that's the thing. It's kind of like because at the end of the day, like you've got horror movies, right? And but Halloween is going to be more talked about on Halloween because it's called Halloween. So having that being a winter movie, something to advise, it's obviously always going to come back. So it does have that edge, by doing that.
Yeah, and I think this was released in sort of like mid to late November as well. So already at that time, it's pushing towards Christmas anyway. But even beyond then, this felt like it was in cinemas for ages, and everyone was lauding it up. This everywhere you look, Frozen this, Frozen that, hearing Let It Go constantly, almost on fucking loop everywhere you went. You could not escape. It was like Frozen Mania. It was like Beatlemania or something, but with Frozen. So I think that this honestly does influence me sometimes with things like that. When something becomes so popular and everyone's talking about it, whether it's in person, whether it's on Facebook, whatever it is online, it kind of repulses me. It means that I don't want to watch it. It's like everyone's talking about it. Maybe I'm a bit contrarian like that, but I'm just like, the hype's pissing me off, so I'm going to wait till it dies down and then I'll get to it.
I'm the same. The amount of things I've gone to, which is like, it's like, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. I'm like, and that's not because it's not great. That's because it's like, you told me it was going to be spectacular. And I was like, yeah, it was all right. Like, and then I moved on with my life. So like, I get that. And I'm the same with stuff but I don't know. It just, I think this one lived up to it.
So I went in with that preconception of this was the greatest Disney film ever made. This was hot shit. Well, it wasn't hot shit, it's Frozen. But you know what I mean? This is like the best thing ever made by Disney in years and years and years. And I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot. Many years after it came out, and it would have just been when I bought it on DVD. I didn't watch this on the big screen or anything like that. And I watched it and it hit the credits and I just kind of went, that's it? That's the film that everyone's lauding over? It didn't hit like any of my expectations. At best for me, Frozen is bang average. It does have some very nice animation, a couple of nice songs here and there. I think some of the themes are interesting, but I do think they fumble it in the final act for reasons that I'll discuss. And then when you read more about the production and you learn what it could have been in that, staying truer to the original Hans Christian Andersen story of the Snow Queen. I mean, I know that Disney have played very, very fast and loose with a lot of the stories that they're based on, but the initial drafts for this thing were a lot closer to some of the themes and some of the story beats from Hans Christian Andersen. And I really feel like they missed a trick with this because I think that would have been ballsy. I think it would have been very different. And this film screams studio rewrites to me. This feels like, we've got notes. I think we should just change this. We should get rid of this aspect and we should do this. And I know that films go through this, but every time I watch this, it feels like they rushed a first draft of a script and just went with it. There's loads of things that don't make sense to me. Characters that have motivation that just comes out of nowhere and isn't earned or foreshadowed in any way. And just kind of a missed opportunity with some things with this one for me. All for reasons I'll go into throughout the review. As it is, rewatching this again, it had been a long time since I'd watched this film as well. I do want to say that before the review. I think Frozen I've watched maybe once complete beginning to end before this point. And it had been a long time. It's been years since I watched it. And especially watching all these in sequence, I thought, you know what? This is the one that I really want to have a 180 on. Maybe I kind of went into it with like a, as I say, maybe I went into it a bit curmudgeonly or, whatever. And now that everything's died down all these years, watching it again with new eyes, would I have a complete 180 on this? Would I have a newfound appreciation for Frozen? And honestly, nothing changed. How I feel about it now is exactly how I felt about it then. There are some positives to it, which we'll go into. But yeah, this feels like the safest of safe to me when they could have took some chances with it.
Oh yeah, I agree. It could have, what could have been something different. And it's like, so when it's a world in Kingdom Hearts 3, it's completely, there's so many things that happen that, not that, I wouldn't say don't make sense, but like that you think, oh, they could have done this and then they didn't. And then they got out, but then they didn't. And then they could. And so I get what you mean. There's a lot of, like Elsa could have easily been the villain. Like she could have easily, and the thing is, she couldn't, like, not the villain, but the whole kind of, she doesn't know where, like, she needs to decide what to do with her powers, which I get she was, but it was more her trapped in the castle when she felt like the villain. And people were giving her a chance, but she didn't actually do villainous things, where it could have been someone and she does villainous things, and, but then it's kind of like she does good things, she does this, but she becomes a good guy at the end, and that's fine. But that's what we could have got, but that's not what we got. But what we did get was a kind of more of a cliche princess movie.
I will disagree with you there about it being a cliched princess movie, because I actually think I would have preferred it if it was a cliched princess movie. I went on record on the weekend, and I think I may have said this even on the last stream. Maybe this is a little bit hyperbole, but there is sort of substance, which I'll back up with throughout the review as to what I'm about to say. Frozen, to me, is the last Jedi of the Disney animated classics.
That's no.
Now, I do want to put a little asterisk next to that and say that this film is a damn sight better than The Last Jedi. I would watch this a million times over than force myself to have to suffer through The Last Jedi again. But in terms of that contrarian, subversive, meta nature to everything, how it almost feels ashamed to be a Disney classic, and we've got to break down some of the tropes. It feels like it's swimming against the current of the story and the natural, the original tale of the Snow Queen. That's the current. And Disney are like, nah, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We've got to try and be modern. We've got to try and do this. And they're swimming against the current. We can't have true love. We've got to put a spin on that. We're not going to have we could have a villain in there. And we did have a villain in there with Elsa, but oh no, we can't do that because marketability, because little girls are going to want to be Elsa in the blue dress and whatever. So we can't make her evil. We got to make her nice. So we're going to have a little switcheroo at the end, a character that you think is good, and then you're going to switch it at the very end, kind of like Admiral Holdo, but the other way around. She's a villain. No foreshadowing, and then, oh no, actually, she was a good guy the whole time. It's like, yeah, but you haven't earned that in any way. Characters with no motivation or backstory at all, like Kristoff's character in this. I'm going to get into it all. I'm going to argue my case for this. I feel like I'm on trial for this, so I'm going to justify it. Let's get into this a little bit then. So I actually I know that they had original story concepts for this thing. I didn't realize how beset by setbacks this was and how turbulent the production of this thing was. If you're going like way, way back in Disney's history, the first idea to produce a Snow Queen adaptation actually came about in the 1930s. So we're going right back to the beginning here. And the initial concept was that Walt Disney Productions was going to team up with Goldwyn Studios. So I think that's MGM, isn't it? I think Goldwyn Studios, if I remember rightly, or it's affiliated with that. And it was going to be a live action / animated feature where they were going to tell the stories of Hans Christian Andersen. And it was going to be live action depiction of Hans Christian Andersen, an actor playing him, of course. And then Disney were going to produce the animated segments for the storytelling. Then World War II happened, and Disney got put on propaganda material. And then eventually Goldwyn made their Hans Christian Andersen live action movie. That was in 1952. plans just kept falling through. Even around the Disney Renaissance, sort of the 1990s, things resurfaced again for the Snow Queen and quickly all fell apart. One of the original directors who was going to be on board for it quit, and he then worked on Tangled. There's loads more as well, just push back, Pixar being acquired and whatnot. It was originally going to be, I think I mentioned this other weeks, it was going to be hand-drawn. There's a couple of bits of concept art out there that you can find for the initial drafts of the Snow Queen. And this thing was going through writers, it was going through directors. Say, if you want to hear like the full production of this, you know, read the Wikipedia or watch some of the behind the scenes. It was a mess. It was a fucking mess. But originally, apparently, this is according to the writers, this was the original story for what they had for Frozen. Let me just find it again here real quick, because people were sort of bought on last minute for this thing. Let me just re-find it. If you just want to carry on a second, I did have it. I've just...
Thing is, it's... Yes, it might have gone through whatever, but it turned out well. It did. It turned out well.
So here's the original version. I've just found it. So apparently, Elsa was evil from the start in the original version. Well, we knew that. Again, much more closer to the Snow Queen story. Kidnapping Anna from her own wedding to freeze her heart, and later descending on the town with an army of snowmen. The whole second act was about Anna trying to get to Hans and to kiss him, and then Elsa trying to stop her. That to me sounds like just a much fucking better movie and more cohesive in terms of its characters. Let's talk about some of the characters with this then. So Elsa. So a bold decision for this, and I think this was an attempt to sort of make the characters more appealing and give them more dimensions. And this is a change from the original version, and it's a change from the original story as well, as far as I'm aware. But having Elsa and Anna be sisters, having a sisterly relationship as the focus of the movie, hasn't really been done all that many times. The only other Disney film I can think of that's done it and done it really well was Lilo and Stitch. But it's not a common relationship you see told in movies. And for that part, I think they handle it pretty well. I think the actors and the writing reinforces it. And I do like that aspect to it. And I think it is an interesting take to have a Disney film have that be the focus with those two. I don't agree with them being separated, since they were basically toddlers, or however old they were, like 6, 7, 8.
Why?
These are like the worst fucking parents ever. They don't explain shit to Elsa. How is keeping her in a room gonna do any good? Just explain the situation to her and the ramifications of it. You didn't have to separate them for apparently like a decade, where they barely have spoken a word to each other, if at all.
Yeah, but like it's the whole, like, because as a parent, if you're a parent, have you ever been in that situation? Would you know what to do? It's that whole, like, you wouldn't.
It's a horrible thing to do.
But you wouldn't know what to do. You'd be like, okay, what do we do here? You know, that's the closest you could think of doing, and then they die anyway, so they can't, undo that.
They're like, oh, to control your powers, we're going to isolate you in a fucking bedroom for the rest of your life, where you can't see anyone. We're going to like open the door a little bit and like push food for you, and then close the door.
The thing that did as well, though, is it isolates her powers to one room, which means, I know obviously you don't see. I mean, you see it as kids through like a montage and all that kind of stuff, but like it's supposed to be that suspense of when she gets out. It's like it does something big, and that's what that was supposed to deliver, and I think that delivers that very well.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just think these, when they drown at sea, when they get taken, I'm like, yeah, good fucking riddance. They're horrible, horrible parents. As far as I'm concerned,
it was kind of decided from the beginning, really, because at the end of the day, you can't have someone's parents in a movie, really. I mean, you can,
not in a Disney movie. You can't.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. It's the same with how, like, for instance, someone always has, like, in TV shows, usually they'll have like one mum and one dad. Like, it's a cliche that always kind of happens. So it's kind of, it was expected that was going to happen.
Yeah. For me, one of the biggest problems, I mean, this film's got a villain problem. Let's stick with Elsa. There is a moment in this film where it paves the way for her to be the villain of the film in a very, very effective way. Because in a way, with the whole backstory at the beginning and the sisterly relationship, It'd be a great villain origin story. She's kind of the protagonist, but then would become the villain midway through, or at least in the first act of the movie. And that'd be such, Disney have never done that before. And all the groundwork's there for it to make her the villain. But I genuinely, and obviously that was in the original draft, as I mentioned. The only reason that was changed, as far as I'm concerned, is marketability. It's Disney playing it safe. It's like, we can't have this queen character with all the costumes and the merchandising and whatnot and the way that she looks. We can't market that as a villain. So we need to make her the good guy, and that she's misunderstood and that she's isolated and she's really trying to control her powers. We can't have her actively wanting to plunge the kingdom into an icy Fimble winter for all eternity. We can't make her the villain. And I just think it would be great. Like, take Let It Go, for example. This was a song that was written after the decision was already made to make her a protagonist and to have her dealing with her powers and coming to terms with it in that way. It's basically like her glow up song, isn't it? But imagine sort of a version of Let It Go if it still kept that. You can still have those themes of her sort of coming into her own and embracing what she's become, this Ice Queen, but then have it like take a sinister approach towards the end of the song and have it almost be like a new spin on a villain song. If you want to keep things subversive, I think that would have been an excellent way to go with it.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the thing. It has so many things it could have done, but what we got was still great, because what we got, like you said, there was a sister bond, which is great, which doesn't happen often. And it was delivered very, very well. And the difference between this and Lilo and Stitch is, with Lilo and Stitch, you obviously don't. I mean, you get a love interest, I guess, with Nani and that sort of stuff, but like you don't get a primary one because Lilo's like a little kid. And it's a very different dynamic. With this. You get two, adult girls that are like, okay, you're going to get a love interest from one of them. So it delivers the cliches, but it also delivers that kind of, I'd say, that sisterly bond, which you don't get in other things. I think it has that right level of everything. It also has that right level of, that humor where it kind of, makes fun of itself a lot, which I think is great. I know that was one of the things you had a different opinion on, saying, it went a bit too far, but I think it has the right level of that in this, because it feels like a cliche princess movie in a lot of ways. It has that level where it makes fun of itself, where it's like, yeah, because you usually get that in a princess movie, so I get why you're making fun of that.
Yeah, but to me, when Disney does that, it's almost like it's berating the legacy of the films that have come before. And it's never been an issue. It's fairy tale storytelling. It's traditional. I'm a big proponent of traditional storytelling like that. But there are moments where, especially the bit with Kristoff, where he's in the sleigh with Anna, and he must repeat that about 3 or 4 times just to get the point home. And even Elsa has a moment, like when Anna first introduces Hans to her, she says, "Oh, we're getting engaged. We're here for your blessing." She's like, "You want to get married to a man you literally just met today?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she's like, wait a minute. You want to get married to a man you just met today?" Later on, Kristoff repeats it. It's like, do you get the point? We're being subversive. We get it. We're being meta. We're bringing it up. I'm like, I hate that shit. I really, really hate it when.
I get it. It could have been more subtle.
And Last Jedi did that all over the place as well. Rian Johnson's script is just constantly let's deconstruct Star Wars and just
we don't talk about that movie. We compare this to good things, not bad things. Like but like no, it's. The thing is, I get it. It probably could have been done a bit less. It could have been refined here and there. But as an overall, the fact that, the relationship we got between the characters, it all worked. We got, I think my least favorite character, it's weird to say least favorite because I don't hate, but the one I could have done without in the most occurrences would be Olaf. He's the one that has the most, I don't dislike him at all. I really don't. I do like the character, but he has the most instances where I'm like, could have done without that, could have done without that bit. He's the guiltiest of those moments, where it was, but again, his great moments are great. I think this movie has a lot of things where it has so many great moments that it really overshadows all those little bits. You think, yeah, but they could have, but it was great. Now, the difference is when it came to the world in Kingdom Hearts 3, because, Kingdom Hearts is an RPG, it's very, Final Fantasy, it's very this, very that. The great elements of Frozen is what Frozen could have been, is if it had taken that, it would have been a phenomenal world. But because it only took the bits that Disney wanted you to see, the world ended up being probably the worst in the game.
Mhm.
But as a movie, because it took everything, just the things that Disney wanted you to see, it became a very, very good movie.
Yeah, so Olaf, Josh Gad's character, I personally can't stand. I think he gets worse in the sequel. I think they put a lot more focus on him. If memory serves, it's been a while since I've seen Frozen 2, so that's basically going to be like watching that one for the first time again. The character of Olaf went through a lot of changes as well, as is to be expected with the production of this film. So Jennifer Lee's credited as the screenwriter of this film. She was one of the writers on Wreck-It Ralph, and they were like changing the production team on this. As I said, directors, writers, even songwriters. Songs were getting scrapped and whatnot. She was brought in to almost feels like cobble together something. It was very much a rush job. She came on, and the whole project had started over, and they had 17 months until release date. So the fact that this movie is as good as it is in 17 months, I will give them complete props to that. But I feel really fucking bad for the animation department, because you just know they'd have been doing like all-nighters and overtime out the wazoo to try and get this out there. So I applaud them for that. Now, the character of Olaf apparently was Elsa's evil sidekick, which makes sense, because when you watch the film, Elsa is the one who creates him during the Let It Go number.
But she creates Marshmallow.
She does. So, yeah, and then when the writer came on, Lee, one of the quotes was that she says was, "Kill the fucking snowman." She hated the take on Olaf that they had. Apparently, he was this like obnoxious sidekick. So he was just changed into the comic relief, and he doesn't really extend beyond that really in the film. And I think for that reason, that's just kind of why I dislike the character. He's just like that key jingling character for the younger audience, really. I suppose like Jar Jar Binks, really, with Phantom Menace.
Everything seems to have those, because it's like it's. I know, I don't think you ever saw Lightyear, did you? But it's like when they did fucking Lightyear, and they had him have this little cat as a sidekick, and it was like, but Buzz Lightyear doesn't have one. But obviously, it was done as like a merchandising, like he, all these little kids want it, but the movie flopped instead. So
Yeah. I was going to say something to you. There's a bit towards the end of this film when I was watching it. It feels like a huge plot hole to me, and I asked you to watch out for it. So I wondered if you could fill me in with this, because maybe I did miss something. Olaf, I think it's when Kristoff and Sven are sort of like riding back to the village to go and rescue and True Love's kiss and whatnot. Olaf kind of does like a side swipe and goes into the village, and he says like, "I'll catch up with you guys" or something. And that's the last you see of it. And then you just hear a woman scream, because like she sees a talking snowman. That happens off screen. Then it cuts to like Anna, and she's locked up and she's freezing, and Hans has locked her in there, in like this almost, well, it's like a side room, isn't it, or whatever. But he locks her in there to let her die, basically. And then all of a sudden, Olaf shows right the fuck up out of nowhere and releases Anna. How did he know where Anna was being kept? How did he know she was specifically in that room? How does he rescue her?
Do you know what? No, I agree.
Did I miss something, or is that literally just what happens?
It's well, to be fair, it's not something I looked out for. So when you say it now, it's like, yeah, I agree.
Because he never gets tipped off to where she is. He never says like, "I heard that Anna's being locked in the tower or something, or in the dungeon." He doesn't know. He doesn't even know that Hans is a bad guy at that point. So how does he know that Hans has locked her in that fucking room in that specific place in the palace or wherever they are?
It's like the obvious plot armor he gets right at the end, where he gets the little cloud.
Yeah.
Like,
do they still maintain that in the sequel? I don't remember him having the little cloud that follows him in the sequel.
The weird thing is, as much as I like this movie, I don't remember much about the sequel. It was I watched it once, I went, "Oh, it was alright," and that was it, and I was done with it. So I don't remember much about the sequel at all.
So
what I liked about this is the big thing is the animation and the look and the style. Like we could have got a 2D Frozen in a way, but to me, it's very tangled in the sense of like, does this look better like this? Because I think the way the colors are, the way the snow is, I think it does actually present better like this than it would have in 2D. Not saying it wouldn't have done well in 2D, but I think they made the right move with this one being 3D.
I think if they had have done this hand drawn, this would have had to have looked more like Treasure Planet. I think with a lot of the 3D elements to it, perhaps. I mean, I'm always a proponent for hand drawn, and seeing some of those concept arts and some of the early designs, I would have really liked to have seen that. They said that they switched it to this animation for more. I forgot the word that they said, but it was like to have more compelling storytelling or visuals. I'm like, are you then saying that you can't have bold or brilliant, memorable
No, they just
visuals
won't
in
do
hand
2D
drawn?
ever again.
No, I
That's
know they
just
won't. I
that's
know they
just them
won't.
never
It makes
saying
me
it, but they won't.
but I'm kind of inclined to agree with you. And maybe it is just because this is how Frozen is presented as CGI, and that's all I've known. And to be honest, Disney have been doing this for a good few films now.
Yeah.
This is kind of the new norm, for better or worse. But yeah, like the way that the light kind of refracts through the ice, the actual snow software that they built for this. I'll get into the animation in a bit, but they built new software for it to have realistic snow and characters moving through it, and the way it breaks apart and everything. The render time on certain sequences as well. The bit during Let It Go where that like crystal palace, that ice palace is forming. It was something like it took 30 hours to render 1 second of footage. And you hear stuff, and they had like thousands, or let me try and find actually how many computers they had on this thing.
Here's the thing I not dislike the most, but you know when she's when Elsa's locked in the dungeon and she's got the chains on her and stuff, like
yeah,
her eyeshadow is not smudged at all. Her dress isn't ripped at all,
no.
right? I feel like she should have looked more like a prisoner.
She should have done, yeah. Also, Hans should have killed her, because his plan makes no fucking sense in this. Probably because it was an 11th hour decision to make Hans and retcon him into a villain at the very last minute, which wasn't the original intention.
He should have killed her. I'm a firm believer on the characters I like must die.
For his plan to work, there is no reason that Elsa lives, makes it back to the castle, and is a prisoner in the dungeon. There is no point to that at all when he's had a multitude of possibilities to kill her. There is no need for him to keep her alive.
Well, you know what? This is true. I'm a firm believer she could have died, but she needs to die at the end in a nice, big, dramatic way. That's what needs to happen. There needs to be blood that goes across the snow, kind of like an Oren Ishii moment at the end of Kill Bill. That would have been a great death scene. Well,
maybe we'll get it in Frozen 3 or Frozen 4, but this actually leads me on to... Oh, go on, sorry.
I was going to say, or how long... Nah. I was going to say, when was the Ice Queen a thing?
Well, when was it originally? When was it written? 1844.
So it's public domain, right? So they could make like a horror movie based on the Ice Queen with a likeness to Frozen and kill off Elsa in like an Oren Ishii kind of like battle.
Well, they already did a live action Elsa in that. Was it called Once Upon a Time or something? That live action fairy tale series?
They did, yeah. I've not watched it, but yeah, they did.
So it's possible. It's probably other live action versions of Elsa, which you can probably find on some websites as well. I want her to be
killed in a violent way. That's what we want. That's the way we want it to go.
Hey, man, if it put an end to Frozen, I'm all for that. Let's do it.
To be fair, I mean, it's the same with when they go for like, I mean, I don't remember much of Frozen 2 at all, but like they're going into the depth of like how she got her powers and all that shit. I fucking hate that. I really do.
Yeah.
We don't need to know.
Yeah.
I hate pointless prequels. I really do. Like, it was a thing because it was a thing. It ended the way it did because it ended. Like, years and years and years ago, like when Dragon Ball GT ended, no one knew why it ended the way it did. Everyone was like, oh, it's so inconspicuous. Like, what happened? And as a kid, I was like, but I want to know. But the older I got, I was like, no, I like the fact that we don't know, because I have an opinion on this. And I even saw like someone posted something, it was earlier today, what their theory was. And I went, that's actually a really good point. That could have... So that's what we want. Shit where we don't know what happens. We don't need none of this. I fucking hate sequels. I say it all the time. I hate sequels.
Well, it's going to be weird. It's going to be the first... I've said this a few times, but it's going to be the first Disney animated classic trilogy. We've had sequels in the past. Rescuers Down Under, Fantasia 2000, 2011 Winnie the Pooh on the US list.
But it'll be the first that has 4.
The fact that they've already greenlit, they already know that Frozen 3 is going to make a shit ton of money. They've already but they've already greenlit Frozen 4. Frozen 4. Just think about that. Disney animated classic. We've hit 4 of them It's basically
The
a
thing,
franchise at that point.
I still think that, because the thing is, I'd say I really really like the first one, and it's great, and but the thing is, how long can a story be realistically? It's kind of like, when you get married, you only get married for what, 10 years, something like that. Like, people don't really last longer, so you get married for about 10 years. Like, there's only one story in that. It's only meant to be one story. You can't keep going for multiple stories. It doesn't generally happen. The only time you have 4 movies or 5 movies or 6 or a book of like 10 or whatever is when you've got a planned series. Frozen is not a planned series. It's a movie and it's done, and that's it. And we need to leave it alone.
They will make as many stories as they can, as long
I
as it
reckon
keeps
it'll be
making over $1 billion.
I reckon it'll be number 4 that flops. Because I don't know because how long's it been since Frozen 2? Like, it'll be what, when that comes out in 2027?
2027 is Frozen 3.
Yeah, so it's going to be a good
be
7 years between them.
2030 maybe.
Yeah, so it's
By
going to
the
be a good
time we
7
see
years
that.
between 2 and 3. Between 1
Yeah.
and 2 was what, 4, 5 years?
Let me check when Frozen 2
Because
came
the
out.
thing is, that long, how many people are still...
2019 was Frozen 2, so
20, yeah, but when was Frozen 1? 2016?
2013, so 6 years.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I reckon Frozen 4 will be when they drop off.
Yeah. Well, it's getting up there with like Toy Story, where they're just, let's make a Toy Story 5, or let's make a Toy Story, whatever.
No, because Toy Story 3 was great. Toy Story 2 was one of the best movies ever. Toy Story 1 was amazing. Just stop it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a trilogy. But speaking of trilogies, Carl says, do you think there is a lot of pressure on Frozen 3 to perform in light of recent Disney box office and public perception?
There is. There will
100%.
be, but it will be like Joker 2, when they, like, we're going to pay you so much money. We're going to put so much into the budget. And then it flops and they go, shit, we shouldn't have done that. Like, I don't think Frozen 3 will flop. I reckon people still see it, but it might, whether or not it'll be good, like, episode 1, Star Wars, like, that made so much money, but people came out going, why did I watch that? It might turn into that, which will make Frozen 4 either not happen or bomb,
Yeah, well, I don't want to say it will bomb, because in a rarity, in a lot of occasions, the sequel makes more money than the first one. I think, didn't Frozen 2 get something like 1.4 or 1.6 billion?
Yeah, it made more.
It's very, very rare that usually you get somewhat. Usually, it will still make a lot of money if it's a popular film, but there'll always be that drop off when you get to the sequel, and then usually a bit more of a drop off with the third one. But it's gone way, way the fuck higher. So I don't know where I'd predict a Frozen 3. I think there's going to be, with the phenomenon that it's been, I think it's always going to be there for it.
It'll stay, but the thing is, how well it does will depend on 4, and they know that, because they know that if it does terribly, it might still make the money, but like 4 won't, because people won't care anymore. So it really, really depends on that. But it's like anything; they'll milk it and milk it and milk it until it stops doing well. We will never ever get a series that ends well, starts well, and is perfect throughout, because it's just, let's keep doing it, let's make more money.
Well, we've talked about that, because fundamentally they are a business, and the only reason that Frozen 3 is getting made, the only reason that Moana 2 is getting made, the only reason that Zootopia 2 is getting made, literally the next 3 Disney animated classics are all sequels, which I absolutely hate.
That's because Disney can't make new movies anymore.
Well, no, they can, but the last few, because of the message or whatever, or just because they haven't been advertised all that well, have absolutely fucking bombed. If we look,
exactly. That's like, but that's like saying, if you're saying they can make a good movie but they'll bomb, anyone can make a movie then. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I can make a movie. It doesn't mean it'll be good. Disney cannot make movies. It doesn't count.
Well, they can't now. Like, let's look at the last few that they've made, right? So, Wish. Budget of about 200 million. You've got to account for marketing on top of that. So usually, general rule of thumb, say double the budget. So you're looking at 400 million to break even on that one before profit. They've got to hit that to break even. Made 255 mil. So that's a loss. Before that, you had Strange Worlds, right? I think that was the one before that one, if I remember. The film that no one went to see at all. Strange World. Budget of 180, again, double that. You're looking just shy of 400 mil. Made 73 mil. 73 mil. Now we
Yeah.
know the reason that, probably marketing, but more importantly with that one, especially with Strange World, the
Yep.
message, as the critical
Yep.
drinker would say, crammed into it left, right, and center.
Have you even
That's the
seen?
reason. That is the
Yeah.
reason. But Disney can't see that. They can't see that that's the reason. So their strategy, instead of just making good, entertaining films that just tell a story and don't have to crowbar politics into it, their strategy is to go, right, shit, let's look at our last few films that made over $1 billion. Okay, right, we got Moana, or Moana at least did very well. I can't remember if Moana made over $1 billion. Let me just check. I know that Zootopia did, and I know that Frozen and Frozen 2 certainly did. So let's just fast track sequels.
So remember, so you know Jessica Rabbit?
I do remember Jessica Rabbit. Yes,
so
very well.
At the Disney theme park, but she's got a trench coat on. Like, they will not.
Oh,
like,
for fuck's sake!
Yeah, they will
Why
not.
Is she at the Disney theme park?
There's like I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been a while ago.
It's not 20th Century Fox, is it? Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
I
is it?
can't remember what one it was and what the ride was, but it was something to do with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And yeah, Jessica Rabbit was there, and she had a big detective trench coat, like covering her fully. Disney are just scared of doing anything.
Let me have a look. Oh, Touchstone. Yeah, no, Touchstone Pictures. Yeah, it's a subsidiary of Disney. Yeah.
And the shit about Disney is because they own so much, and it's all subsidiaries of this and this and this and this. But when you put the name Disney next to it, it becomes instantly like, we need to pander to kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they really put themselves in a pigeonhole there.
Yeah. I just had a look, by the way. The first Moana film made $687 million, so a lot of money. It was a considerable profit. So yeah, that's the reason that we're getting them. So I mean, are they doing Frozen? Surely not. But are they doing Frozen 4 straight after Frozen 3? They're not going to have a couple of movies in between.
I don't think they've said when. I think they've just said, but they're going to do a 4 as well.
Oh, well, yeah. No, so if it takes about 60, yeah, no, they will have some films in between. Hopefully,
they'll probably have an idea for 3 and 4. They're going to be separate stories, but they'll probably have an idea, kind of like, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past. No, actually, no, I would. I was going to say, to be kind of like, when you had the first Pirates of the Caribbean, there didn't need to be a sequel, but then there was, and it connected. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they'll do that. I think it'll just be separate movies, but I think there'll be more hints at the last movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they wouldn't want to take that risk with this far in as well.
Carl also says, Let It Go always felt like the first step in the new Disney era, with the strong independent message starting to become apparent. I completely agree with you on that. This film felt like the first one that was doing that to me. I could see the seeds of what it would blossom into. And it was kind of right around then, don't I always say, like 2015, 2016 was sort of the date where that has now been a huge push, not just from Disney, especially from Disney, but a lot of other companies as well. We see it everywhere. So this is 2013. It's a little bit before then, but you can definitely see the seeds of it. There's been a lot of parallels that have been drawn to that Let It Go song as well. The glow up song, as I always call it. People drawing reference to it, like homosexuality and sort of like coming out the closet, embracing who you are, LGBTQ plus. Apologies if I'm forgetting any extra letters or symbols after that. It's difficult to keep up with. And even people saying like lesbianism. I mean, it's very, very weird if they say that Elsa and Anna are lesbians. I hope that's not the case. But
I mean, no, I'm all for it if that's not.
Oh yeah, sure.
But like, I really hated when that was the thing, because I didn't see the second one straight away, and it came out, and there was these kind of things saying, Elsa a lesbian, that sort of stuff, and I was like, but why would that be the thing? I was like, really hope that's not the case. I mean, I'm all for more lesbians as well. That's a happy time. But I was like, please don't make this a thing. And it wasn't. And it was like, so where are people getting this weird idea? And it's kind of that whole like, yeah, but she could be if she wants to be. And it's like, but she's not. Like, if she is, cool. But if she's not, like, it's that whole. Oh, it's just that it becomes that political argument, doesn't it? Where people are like, "Oh, it's okay to be gay," and it's like, "Well, no one said it wasn't. Why are you?"
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And But I didn't see Let It Go like that. It's a great song. Let It Go is a great song. It's so great. It actually, the whole of it makes it into Kingdom Hearts 3. The whole of it.
Yes, unsurprising because it's yeah. But yeah, people say that the fact that she turns down all her male suitors, and honestly, I feel like it's that thing that there isn't really much romance in the film. The romance always feels a little bit stilted to me. I'm going to get onto Kristoff in just a second because I have a huge fucking problem with Kristoff's character and Hans's character, but with Elsa, she's kind of that Disney princess. Well, she's a queen for God's sake, but that Disney princess character, usually there's always some kind of relationship thing tied to that, and there really isn't to Elsa. She doesn't seem like she's interested or put down, so I can see why people would think that either she's like asexual or she does bat for the other team.
But why? What if she just it just does not interest her? What if it just hasn't at that point?
But that's what I mean. It feels like it's this modern push. It's like Elsa don't need no man girlfriend. She's strong, independent. She don't need no man that's beneath her, kind of thing.
I do believe they probably were doing that because it's the whole. They were like, let's not do this love story. Let's not do this. I do believe Disney as a whole were doing that, but I don't think her character comes across like that.
It's not even a true love's kiss that breaks the spell at the end. It's the love of the siblings. Now,
this is the thing, and I don't disagree with that. I think that's great because I think it's something that's different, and it's so weird because when describing this, a lot of it is everything I disagree with because, I hate when they do that to push the agenda and all that. But I think it works the way they did it. If, for instance, let's say they then do it again in another movie. And then they do it again, another movie. Then that's where it becomes right, you're trying to prove some point. You're trying to not be like what you've done in the past for some reason, even though there was nothing wrong with it. But this, I think, it worked the way it, was.
Yeah, it just feels very loveless. It's almost like we're ashamed to have a proper relationship in a film for this one. Rapunzel had some modern twists here and there, but fundamentally, and this is why I think I prefer, to me, Tangled is just beyond better than Frozen in every way, because at its core, it's still telling that traditional tale, and it still has all of the tropes in there, but it stays true to the core. This one, as I say, fighting against the current, it feels like it's just kicking and screaming no, we're not going to have a relationship in there. We're not going to have these women seem weak by fawning over a guy or, chasing after that. And it is similar to the Star Wars sequel trilogy, because you look at even the prequels, the OT, you've got Han and Leia, and even in the original Star Wars, you've got, before it was decided that Leia was his sister, you got Luke kind of pining after her as well. People are attracted to other people, and relationships happen, and
and rabbits,
it happens.
Apparently rabbits as well.
Rabbits?
Yeah, I don't know, but I just because you see the whole cartoons with bunny ears and shit like that. That's also a thing that people are attracted to, apparently.
Yes, I'm sure it is. Jessica Rabbit was attracted to Roger.
There you go. Exactly. I'm just saying, people are attracted to rabbits, apparently.
The prequels as well, you have arguably not done very well, but there is a love story in there with Anakin and Padme, and people are attracted to each other and get together. And then the sequel trilogy came out, and you're like, they're kind of doing a thing with Finn and Rey, but at the end she's like,
they didn't know what they wanted to do in that.
No, he asks her at the beginning, he says, so you got a boyfriend, a cute boyfriend? And then she just shuts him down, and then they're platonic friends all the way through. And that's fine. But then in the next one, it's all of a sudden a romance comes out of nowhere, but that isn't earned at all, where Rose kisses Finn. I'm like, what is happening?
And then she disappears and no one ever sees her again.
Yeah, then they just was like, oh, fuck, people hate this character. Let's just keep her out of the way. And then all of a sudden they do the Raylo thing, which felt like really bad fucking middle-aged fan fiction or something.
Yeah.
It just... So when they were doing relationships, it didn't feel earned. And then characters that kind of did feel earned, it felt like they weren't doing anything. So again, the parallels there of modern Disney with all of that stuff.
I think there's the best relationship in this is Sven and Kristoff.
Yes, I agree. I like Sven. Yes, Sven's great.
I love the relationship. I love the whole. Again, it's that. I wouldn't say it's meta humor, but it is that whole because he's being very I don't know. He's not being, but you know what I mean. He's being that kind of thing, and he's doing the voice of him and everything. And I just think that was great, and it was, and I think the relationship between Sven and Olaf as well was cool because, well, no, it was Sven and Kristoff really, where he always called him Sven and all that. I just think there was a lot of comedy stuff going on, which I think worked, and I think there was a good friendship relationship with all of them.
Yeah.
Elsa was a bit to the side. She wasn't really friends with them, though, was she? That's the thing. But she is then.
She never really got to meet them, did she? She never really spent any quality time with any of them.
Yeah, that's the thing. And then she does kind of become friends with them. And I think, it, in a lot of ways, it's weird because some ways it does feel like she isn't needed in a lot of things because it's their dynamic. She's not there. She's just kind of the other one. So if she was a villain, yes, it probably would have worked better in a lot of ways. But I think what we got from her character, I think she has a good kind of personality where you'd want her to, because you might, and this is the thing, because the reason I think you might say this is also because I kind of agree, even though it contradicts what I just said, so I'll explain it. So she, in a way, doesn't have loads of personality. And, but that's warranted because she's been trapped on her own for so long. It's like, okay, she's only had her own company. Then she isolated herself in her castle. Her not having that personality connection with the others gives her that personality. That is her personality. It then gets brought out, and then she, then there is a friendship dynamic. I think that speaks more volumes than her having some big, overwhelming personality, kind of like Anna does.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that. I agree with that. Like, I like the sisterly relationship, as I mentioned. I think that was a good choice, and I think both actors play it very well. I think when they were auditioning the song, because both of them auditioned for the part of Rapunzel actually in Tangled, or at least Idina Menzel did. And the two of them, Christian Bale and Idina Menzel, for their audition for this film, both sang a duet to "Wind Beneath My Wings," which, when the casting people were looking at them, said they sang it like sisters would sing the song together, so that's why they were cast. It was interesting you mentioned as well, I think it was when we did talk about Tangled, you said that it's cool that they've cast Idina Menzel. It's kind of harkening back to old school Disney, where they would cast people who were like prolific, stage and screen kind of characters, or like theatre people. Controversially, I'm not a fan of Idina Menzel's voice. I think her mid-range and low range is very good, but when she's like belting out, I always find she gets very shouty and pitchy. But what the fuck do I know? Because she's a professional singer. She's been on Broadway for years. She's fucking, huge, like the name out there from Wicked and whatnot. So this is very Wicked when it comes to the music as well. I'm going to talk about that when we talk about the music. There's a lot of.
This is why I think I probably like Elsa, because I could picture Ariana Grande playing Elsa. That's why I like it.
You would have Ariana Grande cast in everything if you had your way. Are you going to be at Wicked? It's out this week, isn't it, or next week?
That is a good point. That's what I was thinking about the other day. I was like, right, when's Wicked out?
I mean, we haven't been to the cinema together for a long time. Like, the last film we went to see together was Return of the Jedi, which was great. It was a great.
Joker was after. No,
was it?
Was it afterwards?
I have a feeling that was before.
I thought it was afterwards. And that's
I can't remember. I thought it was Return of the Jedi, but I might be mistaken. Yeah. Oh God, we're gonna look so straight if me and you go and see Wicked together at the cinema.
Amazing. I think it'd be great. It's like there could be no better day.
Have they done a popcorn? I expect they probably have. Have they done a popcorn bucket for it?
They probably have. They probably will. They've done everything, haven't they?
Yeah.
But it's like this, because Frozen did the same, didn't it? Like every time, there's always so much heavy promotion, and when Frozen 3 comes out, you can bet there's going to be so much heavy promotion because it's been 7 years. Like, it's like, right, we need to actively push that again, and then there's going to be a popcorn for this, there's going to be this, there's going to be that, and it's going to be so heavily promoted.
It's probably generational now as well, with how many years it's been between.
And that's the thing. This is why and the thing is, animated movies always. I remember, especially when I was younger, I remember like you'd see a trailer and it was always, because usually movies you see a trailer and it's like it comes out in like 6 months, a year, whatever it is. Animated movies, you see it and it'd be the next 2 years. You'd see it quite a lot earlier, because animated movies, when I was a kid, it was always like they took a bit longer to make, so they show you the trailer before, all that sort of stuff, which a lot of the time also led to movies that were like, these are now cancelled. And, you know, same with video games. Like, there was a Pirates of the Caribbean game. I don't know if you remember it. It was this open world Pirates of the Caribbean game. There was trailers for it. I was like, this is amazing. It comes, and it was announced so many years before. And then there was a final trailer. Comes out, and it was the final one we got. Comes out a year later, then it was cancelled. And I was like, I was hyped for that for the last 4 years. Thanks. Like, but the thing is, animated movies, we were always told about it a lot earlier. And I always wonder in the sense of like, where's this, like, how old were the people, the first Frozen movie when it came out? So it was like, what? Between the first Frozen movie and the second one. When the first one came out again, 2016?
First Frozen, 2013.
2013. So they would be 14 years old if they were born when it came out. So the people who were kids are now a lot older. So it would be, I don't know, what kind of effect would it have? Because I think a lot of them, they might be going, oh, I remember this when we were kids. This would be great.
Well, it might be like when Toy Story 3 for us, perhaps, in some way. Now, granted, we were like a little bit older than that. I think we would have been like 18, maybe 17, 18, getting ready to go off to
perfect
college
age.
or uni.
I had left school and going to college. Exactly the same. It was great. I was the perfect age.
Yeah, and it was us letting go. You know, I don't say let it go, letting go of those characters and saying goodbye, having a respect for and saying goodbye to that part of your childhood, which was huge. And that's why, you know, I was an emotional fucking wreck after watching Toy Story 3. I don't really know what you're going to have with Frozen, because that's not really the theme of Frozen. I can't even remember what Frozen 2 is about. I know it goes into the past of her powers, but I don't remember anything beyond
Well, it doesn't really. It's supposed to, and then you don't really know what happened. Either that or I blocked it out of my head because I don't like knowing what happened because of prequels. I fucking hate like that.
Yeah. Tradable Jack says, what upcoming Disney sequel do you think will have the best box office performance in the future? Frozen 3.
Aside from Frozen 3?
I mean, I guess so it's out of, let's count Moana 2 as well. It comes out this month.
I reckon Moana
2, Zootopia 2, and Frozen 3 out of those.
The thing is, Zootopia, as great as it was, and I absolutely loved it, and as much as it made money, how many people remember it? Like, it kind of just went on. I mean, I don't know if it was different for you, but a lot of people, if I've spoken to, it kind of went onto the radar now, in the sense of they're like, oh yeah, I remember that, you know. So I think Moana, but at the same time, if you look at that and you see a movie with a load of like animals and stuff, it's going to do well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but then again, Chicken Little.
Oh God, thanks for reminding me of that. I think this is just a race between Zootopia 2 and Frozen 3 as far as I'm concerned. And if you just look at the revenue at what the previous ones have taken, Frozen makes 1.2 billion. The first Frozen makes 1.2. Let me just double check how much Frozen 2 made.
Are they going to try
Frozen
and
2 makes one?
Mark?
What, sorry?
Are they going to try and
it will never make that. It'll never make that. But you had 1.2 billion for Frozen 1, 1.4 for Frozen 2. So if it continues on that trajectory, it should go to 1.6. I don't think it's going to make as much as 2, although I could be wrong. It might be the cost of like ticket prices if it does make more money, but probably adjusted for inflation, it won't make as much as some of those other ones, because often that's never taken into consideration. I think it will drop to the revenue of the first one, the third film. I think it's going to sit around 1.2.
I think it'll be about the first. It might even make the least.
Yeah.
Like, it might make just over $1 billion. I think I don't know. I think it might be that. But yeah, the thing is, how well it actually does depend on how much budget they put into it. Will they be silly with it? Because if they are, then they'll be disappointed. And it's like, you've got to know it's probably not going to make as much as the second one.
Yeah.
I don't know how the second one made as much as it did.
Same.
But
Same. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is as well, by 2027, you got to think, you know, the world always gets into weird shapes, and, you know, are we going to have that agenda? I mean, we probably still will have a woke agenda around, but how prominent is it going to be in 2027? In the sense of, if it was prominent, and when I say prominent, like, it'll still be prominent to an extent, but it's, you know, when it was first a thing, it was, you know, huge, and everyone was like, woke this, woke that, and then slowly some companies come down, it's going to fluctuate, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. But by 2027, is it going to have a spike again where it's going to be ultra woke? And if it is, and they make a point of, you know, Elsa is, you know, doesn't, you know, there's not true love, there's not, they will make a point of that to sell, and they do that, and then it will get even bigger.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, it'll probably be on the 1 billion mark.
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends how the world turns out, I think.
I think that's a fair assessment there. I was just looking at Zootopia. The first Zootopia made just over $1 billion. So, I mean, great profit on that film, huge profit on that film. But if that's what that first one made, and it's going to be just shy of 10 years after that film, is there still an audience for that? Frozen feels like it's never gone anywhere. Part of that's down to the fact that we've already had 2 Frozen films, but I feel like every Christmas, as we mentioned, merchandise feels like it's never gone away. It did hit that pop culture phenomenon. Zootopia, whilst making a profit, I don't think it hit the same degree. I don't think it has the same reach. So I think it will still make a lot of money. But yeah, I think in answer to that question, I think it's easy.
It's kind of like what you said with Motley Crue, isn't it? They never really went away.
yeah, you know, it's, we're retiring, and then they've just always been around, lingering like some fucking disease.
I mean, to be fair, it's weird because 7 years is a long time though between sequels. It's a long time.
Mm-hmm. That's like well, not for PlayStation. That's kind of
that's a generation.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's a generation between consoles.
Oh shit! Yeah, Frozen 1 came out during it was the PS3 generation, wasn't it?
Yep,
must have been. And then Frozen 2 was the PS4 generation. Frozen 2. There you go. Frozen. So many numbers. Frozen 2 was the PS4 generation. How's Frozen 3 kind of missed the PS5? Because it will. By 2027, that'll be right at the end, pretty much.
Well, not if you count. Oh no, Kingdom Hearts 3 was on PS4, wasn't it? Sorry, I forget. Yeah, that's going to be 2026. So yeah, it would be PlayStation 6 by that point, or is it still a few more years? When did the PS5 come out?
It's usually 8 years between them. So yeah. This is, I think we're about 2027. That'll probably be the end of it. It probably won't be PlayStation 6 by then, but it'll be right at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's doing one every generation of consoles.
Jesus. I mean, it does take many years to get these films made, doesn't it? And yeah, I mean, it shows in the animation quality and whatnot. Carl says, I do like the idea for Toy Story 5 with the toys going against tech and smartphones. I do think that's probably a good direction to go.
It's a good direction, but like it ended at 3. That's one thing.
It's narratively,
it's like there's so many good directions, movies or books or anything can go in. It's like that's a good idea. It's like it is, but you killed that character off 2 movies ago. It's like that's cool, and that would be cool. So we'll bring her back. It's like you've just ruined the series, and that's what happens all the fucking time. So they go, here's another good idea. The only times you can get away with that is things like Batman and superhero comics, because you have this story and this story and this story, and you go, we could utilize this character for this. I was never a big. I mean, I like the Red Hood. I like him as a character, but I was never a big fan of when they killed Robin. I was like, cool, killed him. Jason Todd dead, whatever. And they were like, oh, but we're going to bring him back like this. I'm like, no. How about we just have a different story? We do this rather than have but what if he comes back because of this? It's like, but why are we like? What we don't? It's not one story. We don't need to do this. I don't know. To me, it was. I hate that shit. And the thing is, them going up against tech. Yes, it makes sense, but we were done with the story. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Toy Story 4 completely broke the fucking law of Toy Story and the rules of, because now it's like, okay, so you stick googly eyes on anything and play with it as a toy, it makes it a toy. To be fair, Toy Story 3 did this as well with Mr. Potato Head, where they put all of his body parts into like the
thing about that,
like a fajita wrap.
Well, the thing about that is it was his arms. He was still him, so that was excused. The forky thing didn't make sense.
Yeah,
it was just here you are, and it's like, oh, that's the thing now.
These do just feel like Toy Story 4 felt like a very unnecessary piece. It's like, you get the main game and then you get a piece of DLC that comes out after it, which is like, okay, but this wasn't really needed. It felt like that because narratively where we end it, it's like, okay, so Woody is now on his own with Bo Peep, living his best life, and he said goodbye to the toys. Again, feels like we've done that narrative beat quite a few times with Woody saying bye to everyone. And now what's this one? It's going to be, we're going to Shanghai some way in there to get him back with the gang, and we're just going to do the same thing again. So Toy Story 4 is going to mean nothing, if it meant anything to begin with.
Yeah.
I totally agree here. Carl says Toy Story 4 was Bo Peep basically taking over. Yes, and you can see those modern Disney sensibilities all over that fucking movie, especially with Bo Peep's character. I really liked Bo Peep in the first two Toy Story movies. I
Yep.
really liked her character. I like how she was very flirtatious with Woody, but she had a caring heart, and she looked, she really cared about Woody and all the other toys in there. She
And
was
I
kind of the
liked
voice of reason. Yeah,
I liked that she wasn't in 3 because it
love that.
showed
Yeah,
the whole it's not all the same as it was. And I thought
yeah.
that was great. We didn't need her brought back in 4. But they were always going to do that, weren't they? They were always going to do the whole bringing Bo Peep back because she was, it's like, because, even Woody was obviously saddened by it, and it was always going to be that. So they were always going to do something. But yeah,
They turned her into a fucking action hero. They turned her into that, what is it? That pin up, like roll the sleeves up, like girls get it done, like wartime thing. They made Bo Peep into that, and it's like fair enough if you want a character like that in the film, but don't make Bo Peep into that character because that ain't what Bo Peep was in any of the other films. Yeah, like that moment in Toy Story 3 completely devastated me. I mean, that's like 5 minutes into the movie, and already there was like about 20 places in the film that I was like bawling my eyes over. But that bit where they mentioned all the toys that have come and gone over the years, it showed what happened in that span of time.
Yeah.
And the fact that we were pushing it to that place, like Andy's getting older, his sister, is it Molly, is his sister?
Yeah.
I forgot the name. Like, she's getting older too, she's growing out of things, and this is like a real devastating ramification, the inevitability of the life cycle of a toy. Once the owner gets to a certain age, they move on. And it's, we lost Wheezy and Lenny, and I know that the actor who played him passed away, so I thought that was kind of a nice little tribute to them. And then Rex just goes, and Bo Peep, and Woody's like holding back tears. He's like, yeah, even Bo. And I was gone. I'm tearing up now, even just fucking talking about it. I'm like, oh my god, that was killed me.
It was great. It should have stopped there. Should have stopped at 3. It should have done everything it did, but it didn't. It's like Frozen should have stopped at 1.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and when you watch these movies, we had the same with Wreck-It Ralph. How they end, they are a great little, solid, like self-contained movie narratively, based on whatever it is they're based on. But
the thing is, as well, like, I mean, I know Frozen got a lot of hype. I know it's one of those things where it was like, you said, everyone was like saying great things about it. So you were like, oh, it's one of those, and I'm the same. And it's kind of like as well. So when I was like, I think when I was like, 10 years old or whatever, and I was, listening to music here and there, and people were like, oh, you should listen to Van Halen, and everyone's going on about it. I was like, and I did. And I was like, you know what? It lives up to the hype. It was, they lived up to the hype just as much as each other.
I was worried. I was like, we're an hour and 10 coming up to it. There hasn't been a reference yet. You did a Motley Crue reference. We still haven't had a Van Halen one. Where is it?
Well, I was going to do it then, but then I was like, no, I'm going to wait. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to have the suspense. But it's true. It's like, I am always the same with like things living up to the hype. And, but it was one of them. I did, and I think, because if you would say like favorite songs, like Let It Go I think it's such a great song. But I still believe there's not really a bad song. I know there's annoying songs. There's songs that are like, and yeah, that's true. But there's not like a kind of like bad song,
We'll get on to. I think there is. I think it's the troll song for reasons I'll go into. I dislike the song fundamentally anyway, but just it doesn't make sense with a certain character. I'm going to get into that in a second. Just going to finish off with these comments. Carl says, how did Zootopia hit 1 billion? I know. I have to keep reminding myself of that because I went to see it at the cinema and I enjoyed it. And I really like that movie, especially out of modern Disney. It's probably one of my favorite of like,
because it was about animals.
Yeah, it was cool, and I like the character of Judy Hopps and how she trains. And
the sloth did it. That's why I like the sloth.
I went for a bathroom break. They released that clip before on YouTube, and I realized how it felt like a Family Guy joke, them dragging that out. So I went to the bathroom and came back, and the scene was still going on.
Yeah, but it was I liked it though. I was like, I thought it was cool. I like sloths though. I like sloths because they're lazy and they don't do much. And I was like, you know what? I wish I was a sloth.
Well, if you like sloths, Ice Age 6 is coming out next year.
Yeah, I know. I was very upset when I saw that.
Hey, are they cashing in on that Frozen hype? people like Frozen and ice related movies, so Ice Age
It's gonna be
6.
shit though, isn't it?
Wasn't the last one called like Ice Age, the Final Ice Age, or so? I can't even remember what the
Well,
fifth
they
one was
released
called.
a video with
Oh, it was Scrap, wasn't it? That was
that's
it. Yeah,
and
like
he caught
his last...
well, he didn't catch the acorn because he caught it, then he disappeared again, and it was supposed to be
Yeah,
like a nice little, but they are doing more. And you're like,
yeah.
oh, okay.
Shrek. The fourth Shrek movie was called Shrek Forever After, the final chapter. We've got Shrek 5 coming out next year.
I've not watched Shrek 4 because the third one was shit.
Yes, it was. Isn't it amazing how, like, what you can have Shrek 1, which is one of the best fucking animated films ever made. You can have Shrek 2, which is just one of the greatest films ever made. And then just one film fucking tanks it and just kills the combo.
Yeah.
And you instantly lose interest. Usually you're like, oh, okay, well, the first two were great. Third one, we took a dip, but like, I still like it. No, 3 killed it fucking dead for me. Like Shrek was.
I never watched 4 because of it, but I've heard it's okay.
It's still not good,
but it's better than 3.
It's better than it's better than 3. Tobias says Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 is one of the greatest trilogies ever made for sure. Yeah, Toy Story falls into that same category of like Indiana Jones for me, and kind of Star Wars in a way. Star Wars, I can maybe open it up to 6 films. That's fine.
Well,
but
to be fair, yeah, I mean, Indiana Jones drops off a cliff at number 3, but we'll.
You need to shut your mouth, boy. But that headcanon trilogy, where it's like, I'm going to choose to forget these entries in the franchise. It's a good coping mechanism that's helped me.
Star Wars is 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah,
and 1, 2, and 3
possibly 1, 2.
No, 1, 2, and 3. Like they're not bad. I'm like, yeah, they're cool. But like, if you only watch 1, 4, 5, and 6, it's like that's fine.
It's like Terminator 1, Terminator 2. It's like Aliens.
Yep.
It's like Predator. Maybe Predator 2, but I like Predator 1.
And then you stop it there. Remember Scream 3?
Vaguely, it's been a long time since I watched the Scream movies.
It's been a long time because again, I don't do sequels, especially for horror movies, because it's very a one and done. It's like, all right, we get it. Like, but I remember because in Scream 1, you know how they have the whole like he changes his voice, he has a little voice thing, and it kind of masks who he is. In Scream 3, they go really wacky and beyond, and this is a kind of another thing where just the third one's always a bit like, okay, why are we still doing this? Because they like change their voice, and he's now got the killer like uses the voice thing, and he's now the voice of like the woman's husband, and now he's the voice of like the woman's best friend, and it's like, that's not a thing. Those things don't exist. You can't just make yourself. And it was so like, what? Why are we still doing this?
You can now with AI.
Yeah, but this was I don't know, 2000? I don't know when Scream 3 came out, but we couldn't do it 25 years ago.
Yeah. So I was just laughing at Carl's comment there. He said Dale should be cancelled for that Indy 3 comment. I know, right? He's the only person in existence I know that hates Last Crusade, which is my fucking favourite Indiana Jones movie.
I don't hate. I just think we went 1, 2, 3.
So is 1 your favourite of the 3?
Oh, yeah. I'd say 1, then I'd say 1 is, and then 2, and then 3. But it's like 1 is like here, and then 2 is only just like here. It's not that much. Like 2 is great. I love 2, but they're very on par. But if I had to pick one, it'd be 1. But then 3 is like.
I saw Raiders this year in concert, and it had been a long time since I'd watched Raiders, and it was fucking brilliant. It was a breath of fresh air, especially with like the slew of shit of modern films that we've had. It was so refreshing to just go back to a film from like the fucking 80s that's great, it's adventurous. You've got the damsel in distress, just all the tropes, and just like a good film, and without all the fucking politics in it. It was so good.
Yeah, and this is why I stand by Indiana Jones 3 is not that great, because the thing about Raiders is, it's just Indiana Jones goes looking for something because that's what he does. And that's we don't need depth. We don't need this. You've got, like, as I say, we've got these tropes that we like, and it's great, and it's got a great setting, and amazing things happen, but we don't need loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of substance to it. Same with the second one. There was less substance than the first one had. It was just, it was just a cool movie. Things happen because reasons, And then the third one, they include a relationship with his dad, and I'm like, but I don't care. Just do cool things.
You wanted just sort of like Adventure of the Week, Indiana Jones goes off to get thing.
And it went over my head. I was like, okay, and then it ended, and I was just like, cool, didn't care for that.
See, for
Like,
the reason that I can see that a little bit now you've explained that, but for the reason that you hate it is probably the reason that I laud it so much, because I think that Harrison Ford and Sean Connery are fucking amazing together in that film. And I like that dynamic, and I think it's for the final part, and, you know, it ties into the Grail and, you know, chasing after something and realizing what the true treasure is at the end kind of thing, and then rekindling their relationship. I love it. I love all of that stuff because it still has the great action in there. It still has the mysticism with the Grail and the Grail history to it. It brings the Nazis back into it. The soundtrack's great. So it's still got all of the Indiana Jones-isms. He's still doing cool shit on an adventure, but you just got Sean Connery in there as well, and he's great.
Yeah, but that's like making a Harry Potter sequel and then going, yeah, but he's on a broom, so that's why it's good. It's like, no, but it ended like no.
The biggest character change in that for me between this has just become an Indiana Jones review now, and I'm fine with it. The biggest character change for me is Marcus Brody. From the first one, he's just kind of like another professor there who talks to Indy. He feels very, you know, straight-laced, quite serious, and he is kind of more of a buffoon. He's the comic relief character in The Last Crusade, so there is a big shift with that character. But I still really like him in Last Crusade. But I can see that change there. But yeah, I will fight you on Indy 3.
It's supposed to be a cool movie with no substance, and that's what I liked about it. It was so easy to watch. The third one was not.
Wow. Tobias says Temple of Doom is easily the worst. What kind of fresh bullshit is this?
No, it's not, because again, it has no substance, and that's the brilliance of it. It doesn't, and it's great, and it's darker, and that's what I like. Dark things, I do. I like dark things.
That and Gremlins were the two movies of the 80s that kind of gave birth to the PG-13 rating, was because of that sort of added violence and maturity and element to it.
Isn't Gremlins 2 supposed to be okay?
I love Gremlins 2. Yeah.
Again, never watched it.
I went to yesterday at Comic-Con. I watched Lee Francis, or Keith Lemon, for anyone who knows who he is. He did an interview with Zach Galligan from Gremlins, and he asked him, like, what do you think of Gremlins 2? And he says, like, I wasn't too keen on Gremlins 2. It's a very, I feel like I'm a hypocrite now. It's a very meta movie. It kind of deconstructs the first Gremlins movie and sequels in general, but it's insane. And it just kind of throws everything against the wall, and it really works for me. I love Gremlins 2, the new batch. I do prefer the first one, but I still really, really love the second one.
Yeah, I've not watched. But again, it's a sequel that I'm like, didn't need one, so I've just not.
Yeah,
that's the only reason.
Trade of All Jack says Temple of Doom is disturbingly awesome. My favorite indie movie.
It is.
I will say, out of all three, like Last Crusade is my favorite, but the one I've watched the most is Temple of Doom, right there.
It's the easiest watch, I think.
Yeah. As a kid, that was the one that I always gravitated to the most, was Temple of Doom.
It's the easiest watch, and I think it's the easiest. You could watch 20 minutes in one go and just kind of also just stop watching it. Like, you can pick bits. I think that's the thing that makes it great. It's just such an easy watch, and, you know, it's weird, it's darker, it's great. I mean, it doesn't have the face melting of Nazis and stuff, which we love. But like,
it has hearts ripping out though, and
exactly, it has a different kind of violence and stuff. You know, that with that sort of stuff like you explained, it's more comic booky in some ways, and I think that's what's great.
Such great set pieces in that as well. You've got the you've got the Kali Ma scene. You got the intro as well that feels like a Bond movie with Indy, and he's in like the white tuxedo, and it's called Club Obi-Wan, isn't it? I think. I swear, I think it's called that. Yeah, I think on the gong at the beginning, you can actually see C-3PO and R2-D2, if I'm not mistaken, as well on the gong, which is great. You've got that. You've got the minecart sequence, which was always my favorite sequence in the film. You got the bridge. Literally everything. There's not a moment of that film that I think of and go, oh, I hate that moment. Oh, it's a real grind getting through this bit. We're gonna have to watch the Indiana Jones films at some point. It's been too long. The first three, that's it. Again, headcanon. 3 Indiana Jones films.
Nothing happened after 3.
No less. Going back to Ice Age, Tobias says 6 Ice Age movies. Jesus, I stopped after the dinosaur one. Which one was that? I think that was the third one.
Dawn of the Dinosaurs or something. I can't. The thing is,
Yeah.
I remember Ice Age 1, which was great. I remember Ice Age 2 again, which was great. And then I remember them, but I don't remember being great. Like I just remember bits.
It's like dinosaurs predated mammals by many, many millions of years.
I just remember bits, and I don't remember loving them.
I stopped after the second one. I love the first Ice Age movie. There's loads of heart to it. Sort of
I
getting
remember going to cinema to see that.
Yeah.
Years ago. That was great. That was a good time.
I remember the trailer was scrap with the acorn. It was hilarious. I love the characters, and I love getting the human back to, humans wanting to kill the mammals, the creatures, and that sense of respect for each other at the very end. I really liked that moment. And then the second one, I was hyped for it. Was it The Meltdown or something? And it was terrible. Like, even as a kid, I was like, the quality has dropped significantly.
I remember liking it.
The second.
I remember liking the second one. I remember. Wasn't the third one the one that had the little possums in it?
It's got the possums in it, and it's got the oh god, what's her name? I forgot the name of the actress, the one who played like the female mammoth in there, and it's like the new love interest for Manny. And I'm like, I don't even think he brings it up, but in the first movie, it's one of the most heart-wrenching moments of that first Ice Age film, is where he's got the cave paintings, and I think without any dialogue, you see that Manny had a family, he had kids. He had like a wife, basically, and they were killed by humans, which is why there's the distrust there with them. I don't even think that comes up. There's never even a conversation in Ice Age 2: The Meltdown. He just moves the fuck on and just shacks up with this new mammoth character, and I'm like, I feel like you'd be hesitant.
Well, that's what you got to do when things happen. You just got to move on. Move on. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's happened. Cool. They're dead. Next.
Yeah. Wow.
And then you don't mention any of that until the new girl you're with, and then you have a new family. You don't mention your old family to the new family. You pretend like it never happened.
Kill it if you have to.
Yeah.
Oh no, I just said a quote from Last Jedi. Ugh, I need to wash my mouth out with some soap.
It's a terrible movie.
Carl says, if you think of the classic films of the past, I just can't see what films that have come out over the past few years that will be seen as a classic. Maybe Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, Top Gun Mavericks. And I mean, I was going to say it's a sequel, but sequels can still be classics in their own right.
Not Disney classics, though. They shouldn't be.
Top Gun Maverick was probably the last film that I went to the cinema in terms of new films that just gave me that sense of exhilaration. And man, this is what movies used to be like. Genuinely. It might be Top Gun Maverick. A film that's maybe arguably better than the original? Question mark. I don't know. I like the first one for it being that kind of like kitschy 80s.
I've heard, but I don't know. I've not seen it.
I love the cheesiness of the first Top Gun movie, but yeah, man, I remember seeing Maverick. It warranted multiple viewings for me, which is very rare for a film nowadays. In the olden days, I'd used to go and see films multiple times, but now with free time and whatnot, adult life. But Top Gun Maverick, I took the time to go and see it multiple times, and I was blown away on that opening day. You could tell that the whole audience was just absolutely captivated, electrified. You could see them reacting to the action sequences. It was tense. It was edge of your seat stuff. Yeah, it's been a while since I felt that way in a movie. I certainly fucking didn't feel that way at Joker 2. That's for damn sure. My God.
That was a terrible thing to happen.
Tobias says, Dale is a man of simple comforts. I could respect this, but it doesn't make his takes any less whack.
Well, hey,
takes all sorts, doesn't it?
What was my biggest one that I don't like the Green Mile?
Oh yeah, that's another hot take of yours. You fucking despise that film.
I remember the amount of people that was so pissed when I told them that.
That's in like my top 10 favorite movies of all time. It's not one that I ever want to rewatch anytime soon because it's just so emotionally wrought. But if we're talking about quality of acting, screenwriting, music, filmmaking, emotion, cinematography,
it was. I don't know. I don't know.
It was the magical powers that lost you, I think, wasn't it? The fact that he's kind of like an angel.
Yeah. To me, I mean, because the thing is, with that, I never read the book. I didn't know anything, like, because it was such hype of the movie. I watched it and I was like, but no. I was like, I didn't care anymore. I was like, nah.
I'm going to say something that will make you hate it even more. Are you ready? What's the not Michael Clark Duncan's character? What's his name in the movie? The
What's
prisoner.
his name? What's his name?
Like the drink, only not spelt the same. You know his name.
It's like the drink, but not spelt the same.
John Coffey, right? John Coffey is the name of the prisoner. Okay, John Coffey. Yeah. What are his initials?
Yeah, but I don't get what you.
JC. Jesus Christ.
Oh. How did I not make that? How did I not make that comparison? Yeah, that's a good point. That does make it worse. That makes it like 10 times worse. I hate when you put religion into things. I really do. I understand that was the concept anyway, but I hate when you put religion into things.
Trade of All Jack says, I just love how Temple of Doom has so many horror elements like gore, bugs, death traps, a person burning in lava, mutilated animals as food. It's just a good flick for Halloween. Yeah, actually, I've never even thought of it as a Halloween flick, but I wouldn't be upset if someone said, hey, I'm putting Temple of Doom on.
It's very it's similar to The Mummy in a lot of ways. It's got a very similar vibe.
Pulpy kind of feel to it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I never thought of it as a Halloween movie.
We went to see that at the cinema, didn't we? The Mummy. That was great.
They
haven't put the Indiana Jones films on actually at the cinema. That if we're talking about films to rewatch, like to put back on at the cinema, I'd love if they did the Indiana Jones trilogy.
Do you reckon they'll put Frozen back on?
Almost certainly, yeah. They've actually Odeon have got listed all of their Christmas movies. They've got, unsurprisingly, Elf, which I've never seen, Home Alone.
Oh, Elf is great.
Die Hard, and It's a Wonderful Life at the moment.
Elf is great, starring an actor that I don't care much for.
Yeah, Will Ferrell. He's very hit and miss for me.
That's not who I meant.
More miss than hit. Oh,
that's not who I meant. It might be another hot take, but James Caan, don't care much for him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like the things he's in is great, and he is good, but I don't care much for him as a lot of people seem to.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Tobias is just adding a few movies, sort of classics of this decade. Yeah, dude, The Wild Robot. I'm actually tempted to go and see that. Like, genuinely. It's that animated film that we've seen the trailer for. I've heard it's phenomenal. Like, genuinely.
I've never watched Dune. Like,
this is quite a controversial take for me. I much prefer the 80s adaptation, and that's not just because I've got a hard-on for the 80s. I just think adaptation-wise.
I've never watched it, like, ever, right? But who was it that said, like, I can't remember. It wasn't anyone famous or anything, but someone told me in passing conversation when we were talking about Star Wars, they went, yeah, I prefer Dune. And I was like, what? And
Star Wars was heavily based off Dune.
Yeah, but it was, they spoke about it as if they were the same movie. And I was like, I mean, I've not watched it, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Oh, let's go in this way. We predicted it might happen. Carl says, my Odeon is shutting down soon. I feel like this might happen widespread. It's just the way people are going streaming, aren't they? Cinema prices are going through the roof. Cinema prices are ridiculous now. When we went to see Joker and I booked tickets, I think a ticket for Joker, we didn't even see it in ice. Thank fucking Christ we didn't go and see it in iSense. So iSense, for anyone who doesn't know, it's just like a bigger screen, I think. It's not an IMAX, but it's a bigger screen than normal, and the sound system's meant to be better. I've seen films on both. It's very negligible, but ticket prices are usually more. If you have a Limitless card, you still have to pay extra on top of it by like £3 or £4 or something like that. A ticket to go and see Joker on iSense was something like £24 or £26.
Well, they got to make their money back for Joaquin Phoenix's salary, aren't they?
That's true. It's true. Tobias says, please go watch The Wild Robot. It's one of the best movies I've seen, period. Trade of All Jack says The Wild Robot was amazing. Okay, you know what? Let's just segue it back to Frozen, because we haven't talked about the music, we haven't talked about Kristoff, and we haven't talked about Hans, and those are three main topics I do want to talk about in this. Which do you want to go for? Do you want to do characters first, or do you want to do the music?
Music, because we touched upon it a bit.
Okay, I'm going to go and book a cinema ticket right now for Wild Robot. I am listening. Talk about music. So, favorite song, what you think about the music in general?
Well, I without being cliche, I want to say Let It Go is my favorite, but that's just because I think it's just a great song. It's one of those, I think we've had a couple of Disney movies in the past where we've said it's not just a great Disney, it's a great song in general, and I think it's great. I think it hits everything you want for a song to be. It's got that right bit of, you know, like piano intro. I wasn't a fan of I think it was Demi Lovato did the whole end credits version. I wasn't a fan of that, like the pop version that they always do here and there. But as the actual song in the movie, that's just hands down a great song. But I still think a lot of it, the music, there's not really a bad song. I would not say Fixer Up or anything like that is a bad song. I'm sure it's not as good as some of the others, and it falls down a little bit, but it's not a bad song. I think a lot of it is, you know, there's so many great songs in this movie.
I have booked a cinema ticket, by the way. I am going to see The Wild Robot on Monday next week. So a week today, I will watch The Wild Robot. And if you guys want to see a review like weeks after it's come out, probably when it's about to finish at the cinemas, I'll do... and Cole's done the same as well. He's just booked a ticket too. If you guys want a review for that, let me know. I'll do one after I watch it. Yeah, so the music in this one. Score is done by Christoph Beck, and oh god, let me find the ones who did it. So it's a husband and wife duo that did the music for this one. Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez. Apparently the music for this went through loads of different composers and just none of the songs would stick, and that was probably down to the fact that the story was constantly changing and developing through the production hell of everything. There's a lot of songs that are left on the cutting room floor. They wrote a lot of songs for the movie. And I think a lot of them can actually be found on the soundtrack, the ones that were removed from the film. Let's actually have a look at the soundtrack as is and kind of pick it apart a little bit. So
I don't think there's a bad song on it.
For me, I think this movie lacks a musical identity. When you've got like the likes of Alan Menken, and, you know, a lot of other composers that you've had as well, like, oh God, what was his name? Is it Jerry Goldsmith? I forgot the name of the composer from Mulan. I want to say it was him. Let me just check.
Speaking
of
Mulan, do you know Donny Osmond still plays I'll Make a Man Out of You live all the time?
Does he actually?
Yeah.
We need to get next time he does it. We need to
I didn't realize that until the other day because I saw a live video and it was from recently. I was like, does he still? And I was like, and all of his concerts, I'm like, shit, he actually does.
It's amazing. Love that. Even with like Phil Collins with Tarzan, right? Or Brother Bear, there's a cohesion to the music. This one kind of seems like it's all over the place for me. My favorite song in the movie, I think, in terms of writing, I hate to say it, Let It Go, probably. It's very poppy though. But my favorite in the movie is actually
a well-written song. Very well written.
It is. As I say, I don't like when Idina Menzel goes like really, really shouty and like the upper register towards the end of the film. I think it's quite abrasive to listen to, but the actual song, from like a songwriting perspective, I think is great. But my favorite is actually Frozen Heart, the opening song. I love it because it's very Nordic. It puts you. It's very sort of like Lion King or all of these good like Disney Renaissance type movies that have that huge, big, epic, sweeping song that immerse you into the world that you're about to watch. And I think that Frozen Heart does a fantastic job of that in the intro. And it's got the sort of like the choir and the, you know, like the male voices, the vocals that put you in that world. And then none of the other songs feel like that whatsoever throughout the rest of the soundtrack. I think if they'd have gone, right, we're going to keep that Nordic tone to it throughout, I think I would have appreciated it a lot more. Do you want to build a snowman? Carl's just mentioned it there in the comments. Pisses me the fuck off, but that's me. That's because it's everywhere. That's because it was inescapable. I hate that.
That
but
also was in Kingdom Hearts. Briefly, but it was
Of course
there.
it was. Of course it was.
It was present.
There's a great Breaking Bad meme with that song. Have you seen that video? Where it starts, it's like Anna like knocks on the door and like, "Do you want to build a snowman?" And then it cuts to Jesse Pinkman inside his like trailer. He says like, "This is my own private domicile, and I will not be harassed."
I haven't seen that one, but I did see "Do you want to build a meth lab?" I did see that one.
Oh, okay, that's that one.
So yeah.
Right after that song, not long after at all, you have For the First Time in Forever. It's quite nice, I suppose. It's a song that crops up a lot of the time. You know, it gets a reprise later on in the film. One sort of songwriting a musical tradition that this upholds throughout the songwriting in some of the numbers, which I've always really appreciated. It's used heavily in Phantom of the Opera as well, is where you have two characters singing two different parts, like lyrically, that overlap with each other. You have Anna singing for the first time in forever, and then it cuts to Elsa. It's like, don't let them in, don't let them see, and then it cuts back to Anna singing her song. It's used in Les Mis a lot as well. I've always really liked that, where you have like either dialogue or singing from two opposing characters overlapping with each other. I think they do it again when Anna meets up with Elsa when she tracks her down in her ice temple, and they have that sort of singing back and forth. I think they do the same. I like that. I like those mechanics to it. Love is an Open Door just feels very poppy. I can't fucking stand that song. Let It Go, we've already mentioned it. In Summer, hate it. Hate Olaf with that song.
It was, to be fair, with that song, it's a very, again, it's not like an amazing song, but I wouldn't say it's a bad song. It's one of those, like, I'm not a big fan of musicals in general a lot of the time, which is weird because a lot of Disney musicals are great, but a lot of general musicals I'm not a big fan of, because as a kid, especially when I watched them, I was like, why have we got to sing about that? Like, some guy wants to put his shoes on and he has to sing about it. I'm like, that doesn't warrant a song. Like, and I'm very like that. And it is one of those songs of like, he's describing something. It's a very musical one of like, oh, we're going to sing about it as well. All right, cool. It is one of those, I do agree. And it is one of the weaker ones, but I wouldn't say it's a bad song.
It's when you hit that song, this is where it starts to feel like baggage songs. We've got to have a song for the sake of it. What narrative reason do we need the snowman to sing a song? Oh, well, it's funny, it's cutesy. He likes the summer. He wants to be by the sun because he can't have it. I'm like, okay. And then you have Fixer Upper right after that, and that is okay. And I'm going to go into the reason. Number one, I fundamentally I don't like the song as it is, Fixer Upper. But okay, you have the character Kristoff, who has no backstory. There is nothing to that character. We know nothing about this character. We're introduced to him at the beginning of the film when he's young and he's trying to like help the people break the ice up. And then he's like, where his parents, like, what's his relationship like with the people that he works with? He's just kind of there. And then he just happens to bear witness to this magical shit that's happening with Elsa and Anna going on with the trolls. Apparently the trolls bring him up. Now he ridicules Anna immediately for falling in love with Hans and agreeing to marry him after one day, which, as I mentioned, he likes to remind the audience of at least 3 or 4 times in that scene. And he's like, what? I know love experts. Like, this is insane. But the same thing happens during Fixer Upper. It's that love at first sight type bullshit, barely spent any time with them, and the trolls are pushing them together, saying, oh, you two deserve to be together, and love, true love's kiss and everything. Everything he was fundamentally against at the beginning and ridiculed of, he's now doing.
Yeah, but that's because he becomes that kind of like, he knows what he wants, so he's like, okay, well, if you want that, then I'm not going to stand in your way. So that's not an issue.
So it felt like they wanted to be meta and go against the grain with that, but then they end up doing the same thing, but you never actually go ahead with the true love's kiss, because then they flip that on its head as well. Which brings me on to the character of Hans, who should have been the male lead throughout this film, and who shouldn't have been a villain, because the decision to make him a villain was an 11th hour decision, and it fucking shows, because there is no setup for this villain switcheroo at all. Nothing in the script and the previous songs where he's singing with Anna, nothing sets him up for a villain. So therefore, the twist of him becoming a villain feels weak. It doesn't feel earned. It feels like it's done for a shock factor. But when you start to break it down and look at the character's actions throughout the film, make no sense at all. So he wants Elsa out of the picture. When he goes to the temple and confronts her, he could have been like, he could have just got there slower. He could have sent more guards in. When they actually knock her out, he could have just killed her there and then. There was no reason he needed to take her back to the dungeon. And even if he did take her back to the dungeon, why not just kill her and finish her off in the dungeon? Why does he leave her there?
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. He doesn't even have a speaking line in Kingdom Hearts.
No. And
he doesn't even speak.
this film has a villain problem because the villain was written, like the course was going for Elsa to be the villain. It was switched. They then have Hans, who was in the film as the male lead, who now they just change into the villain suddenly at the end, and there's no impact for that. And get used to that, by the way, because Disney are going to be doing that for a lot of their Disney animated classics from now on. It's that villain switcheroo at the end, which I hate. We've talked about that before. And then Kristoff's just a nothing fucking character. So get rid of Kristoff and just have Hans be the main character that he always was. Also, really confusing at the end. I feel like characters just teleport all over the place. They're on kind of like a snowy fjord at the end. And you've got Kristoff, and he's just like walking through the snow, and he's on the water that's all frozen. And Anna's there, and she's and she's almost dying. And Elsa there. And everyone's in like the middle of this frozen fjord. And then all of a sudden, Hans just disappears after she kind of like explodes a little bit, doesn't she, when she turns to ice with the whole sword when it shatters, and he's just gone. The next thing you know, they're on a Viking ship that emerges out of the... I'm like, yeah. No, they were on a frozen fjord. They weren't on a boat, and now they're on a boat for some reason. What happened there? Did I miss something with that?
Yeah, no, I know. It's very sort of like... This is the thing. Like, this is why I think some of these things make it a great movie. The things that... It's kind of like, you know, in Tarzan, where you were just like, you know, the music is the bad thing, which is also the great thing. You know, it's similar in the sense of some of the meta humor and stuff. It makes it a great movie. I mean, obviously, the things you said, like, you know, makes it bad here and there, like it goes overboard. But sometimes what makes it great is you see it, and then sometimes it can get away with doing things just because it's like, I just feel like sometimes there's the cliches because of the sake of having the cliches, and it feels okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, because it's weird because it does go against that, you know, when I like movies, I'm like, well, you don't need to do that for the sake of it. But sometimes we see a lot in in this movie, and it's like, that's fine. And
it felt like we missed a scene. Like they were on a frozen fjord and then they were on a boat, and I blinked and I was like, wait, hang on a second, how did we get here? If you were going to have a villain in the film, like just as is presented as a villain and actually has a motivation to be the villain, have it be Alan Tudyk's character, the Duke of Weselton, or whatever it is.
It should have been Marshmallow. Could have been like the proper, like, he gets out of control. He becomes like Frankenstein. Like he's Frankenstein.
Well, they were going to have Elsa attack the village with an army of snowmen, weren't they? That was the original idea.
They could have done that. Or it could have been, right, an accidental snow monster that comes out of the ground and this giant fucking thing that towers over the whole planet, and like they could have done that, and it was accidentally built by Elsa.
Well, Elsa's like Ghostbusters, like choose the form of the Destructor, and they just have like this giant lumbering snowman that comes in.
Yep, and it's giant and it's bigger than the Earth, and then she's there just like, oh shit, I didn't know I did that. And then it stands on them and they die. That would have been a good end to the movie.
And we wouldn't have had a Frozen 2.
Yeah, but that would be great. If I made the movie, I would have done that and been like, well, I can't make a second one now. Oh yeah, but it made $2 billion. I'd be like, fuck you, I can't do another
one. Frozen. I'm going to kind of wrap my thoughts up now. I'm going to try and do it as succinctly as possible.
I give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, that's high. That's high. That's a high score right there.
Yeah.
Positives. Get the positives out of the way first. The animation is incredible. It really is. Just in terms of the environments and the new technologies they built for the snow simulations, the ice, they took some of the animators out to some of those kind of locations to do research, and they did their research really fucking well, and it shows, and it is beautiful to look at. I like some of the dynamics in there, as I said, like choosing to base the film around sisters. They've only really done that in Lilo and Stitch before, so I thought that was a cool angle to go with. And I thought for the most part, the whole sisterly dynamic and the relationship between them was done very well. For me, this film has a villain problem, it has a romance problem, and I feel like there are too many occasions in the film where it's trying to go against the grain, where it is trying to be too meta, it's trying to be too modern with its sensibilities, and I feel like it lost a lot of the heart and what makes a true traditional fairy tale story, which I feel like this is what it could have been. And it's, you know, comparing it to Tangled, it's where I think that Tangled excels and this falters, is because Tangled did stay true to all of those tropes, had a great villain, villain song. The songs were punctuated through the movie very well. It did have some modern things in there, but it still had that love dynamic to it and all the things you come to expect from a traditional story, traditional fairy tale. Whereas I felt like this one was being a little bit contrarian, being a bit too meta, and so I didn't really appreciate that. There's huge leaps in logic with some of the script and plot holes I mentioned, with Olaf just knowing where Anna is and then characters seemingly teleporting here and there. To me, you can see where all of these rewrites came in, and it's quite evident to see that there were last minute decisions that were made. Things were perhaps a little bit rushed. Things were perhaps not maybe thought through as much as they could have been. And it is a shame, because I really think there was a genuine great movie in here, and you get the impression that throughout the years that they were trying to get a Snow Queen movie made, it was very difficult to adapt that story as it's written in a way that would work for a film. Considering they were rushed and only had about 17 months on this movie, with constant changes and pretty much writing right up until the day of release and getting things finalized, I think the final product is fine. To me, this is a bang average film. It's bang average Disney. I don't understand why this has gained like the worldwide phenomenon that it has.
Because it's a fucking Christmas movie, that's why.
Well, yeah, probably. And it's marketable, and it's wintry. Perhaps those are all the reasons. The songs for me as well are just quite especially when you compare it to some like Menken stuff. I really don't care for some of the songs. Some of them are very well written, but
it's also kind of like, so like, for instance, Slade's Christmas song. Now I know you hate it. I know you do, but like,
I just heard it for 31 years, dude, every year. That's all.
Yeah, it's great. It's amazing. I'm so happy I've seen him play it live. Anyway, but like, it's, if it wasn't about Christmas, how average is the song? Like, I mean, I think it's a great song, but like, would a lot of people be like, yeah, it's a good song, but the fact that it's about Christmas means it gets played every year. So I think it's the same sort of thing, because it's got that winter vibe, because it's basically Disney's Christmas movie that little kids every year are going to be like watching Frozen. I can guarantee, Frozen DVDs, Frozen, like it's going to be downloaded every single year. If someone has like a 3-year-old, they'll be like, oh, should we let her watch Frozen? Every year, I can guarantee that, and it's going to make so much money all the time. So that's one edge that it has, and it's always going to have. And this is also going to be its downfall, I think, because at the end of the day, at the end of Frozen, obviously she melts, de-ices, whatever you want to fucking say. The world melts. It's no longer frozen. It's no longer this. Now that realistically is going to be its downfall, because by the time it gets like Frozen 3, Frozen 4, well, first off, it's going to be called Frozen. So it's like, well, how can we not have the world frozen? But it's like, but then it's going to overstay its welcome. The point in that movie is it ends with it's no longer frozen. And it's like, you're going to outstay your welcome. So it's going to be the downfall. But then by not doing that, it's not going to hold the Christmas movie it always has. Because even if, let's say, 1, 2, 3, and 4 all do absolutely phenomenally, they all earn over $1 billion each. It never stops. It always does well, right? But number 3, for some random reason, it is like, it's no longer, the world isn't frozen, right? The world isn't frozen, right? It's melted. It's this, it's that. Elsa still has her powers here and there, but it's about the world when it's not frozen, right? It still does amazingly. Guarantee at Christmas, people will be watching 1, 2, and they'll kind of forget about 3. They will, because then 4 will be, it's back to that Christmas environment. So that's why it will always do well.
That's a really good prediction, actually. To add to that, I think whether it's in Frozen 3 or Frozen 4, you're going to have a villain in the film who is all about fire, who has the element of fire, and she will be melting everything and plunging.
They need to put it together with Hercules, bringing the Ice Titan and the fucking Lava Titan. Oh, that's great.
Well, I was thinking Mr. Freeze, get Arnold Schwarzenegger in there, just like, oh, nice to see you. I think you're gonna have like some kind of fire sprite who's the villain, and then by the end of the movie, it's going to be fire and ice need to work together in perfect harmony, and it's all going to be happy and lovely.
I want them to kill off Elsa in the 3rd one. That's what I want.
They will never do that.
That's what I want now. I want them to kill off Elsa.
Never going to happen. Never going to happen.
Do you know what I want to do? I want to start animating my own movies and make The Bride versus Elsa. That's what I'm going to do. That's going to be my thing.
Yeah, I really wanted to just watch this again and go, yep, I can see what everyone else sees with this one. It's amazing. It's incredible. maybe I watched it when I was a little bit sort of miserable when I first watched it, but now watching them in order, I can totally see this. But no, my opinions really haven't changed on this at all. I think this is bang average. This wouldn't even be in my top 20 probably favorite Disney films. Genuinely. It's not one that now I've watched this for this review. I don't know when I'm going to be watching Frozen again. I could quite happily leave this on my shelf.
This is where we go and do it in tiers, and I give an A tier, and you're like,
this is why we need to do our own tiers, because this would be sort of like maybe. Well, I don't know what tier we're going down to because I need to grade it on that.
I reckon F.
This is like a C for me.
I reckon F tier because F is failure, isn't it?
This isn't a failure. This is not a failure. It's not a failure, but go down to F. Oh well, that's Chicken Little.
Yeah,
Chicken Little's going to F. The Wild's going to an F.
No, Wild doesn't make it to the list.
Oh, it's not. Yeah, it's not even part of it. But yeah, I guess that will do it for our review debate. My rant on Frozen, but
Frozen's good. I liked it. I hated the Kingdom Hearts world though. The up and mountain, down and mountain, up and mountain. Not just because I'm terrible at directions, and the whole land is covered in snow, and I'm like, how the fuck am I meant to know which direction I'm supposed to be going in? And the fact that you can dive here, there, and everywhere, and you're up a mountain, you go, well, I just came up. I've got to go down here. No, you got to go that way. Like, how the fuck am I supposed to find my way through there? I was 200 hours into the game, and there was still a room that had question marks. I was like, how the fuck have I not found that yet? Because I cannot direct anything, right? So when it comes to a land that is just full of ice and snow, I'm like, I don't know where anything is. And then there was another, it's like, find this over here. I'm like, the fuck do I get over there? And then the story was pulled back, and it was a terrible world in Kingdom Hearts, but it was a good movie.
I still haven't played Kingdom Hearts 3, so I need to play catch up.
And the whole Let It Go sequence is the whole of Let It Go with Elsa doing her thing like she does in the movie, but with Sora and Goofy like in the background.
Is there like reaction commands to like
not to the song? No, it's just a big cutscene.
Oh,
they proper tried to show off Unreal Engine 4 or 4.
That's a miss. I was hoping that maybe you even play as Elsa in that scene, or maybe you're Sora and you're helping her build
would have been
her
great
ice
if
temple.
Elsa was in your party, wouldn't it? But no,
because like you could have like I don't care, mash X, and she builds that part. What they're going to say, press square, and if you fuck up the reaction commands, then her temple is like kind of all lopsided and like falling off the mountain because it's kind of shitty.
Do you remember the wiggle sticks? That's hold on, right? So that sounds really weird. So when the thingies, the joysticks, like that you. When you like can swirl them like that, like when there's like a beam struggle in a game or something, you have to really do that.
Oh yeah.
Remember that was the thing. So this is completely Unfrozen related, but it brings me onto it because how in the final Harry Potter, they've got Voldemort, Harry, they've got the wands and they're like the beam clash. Now I was firmly convinced when the game came out, I'm gonna have to do that. I was like, that's gonna be a thing, and it came to it, and I started doing it before I even hit, and I was like. It's not what you got to do. You got to move it up and that's it. It's like, I'm really disappointed now. Like it was so heartbreaking. I was solely convinced that was going to be the thing. I was doing it before the game even loaded. I was like, we're on it. We're starting big.
It definitely felt like Disney had more of a hand in Kingdom Hearts 3. So I guarantee in Kingdom Hearts 4 you'll get Frozen 2 world.
Sora will get a sex change.
Yeah. Yes, you will. Right. Next week's movie. You actually can't remember which one it is, can you? Number 53.
No.
Do you want to take a guess before I unveil
Zootopia.
it? No, that's number 56. I think that one. Number 53. Big Hero 6.
Okay. The movie I've watched about 10 times.
Have you actually?
Yeah, my ex was obsessed with it.
I've watched this once and pretty much don't remember anything about it. So for all intents and purposes, this is going to be like a first time watch for me. And it's the first Disney movie to be loosely based on a Marvel property. We're going to see some Marvel characters in Wreck-It Ralph 2, ain't we?
Yeah.
See Iron Man flying by.
That movie didn't happen.
No, I know. Few movies time. We've still got a few times before we get there. So, yeah, Big Hero 6 is the next one. I'll be looking forward to watching this one. I don't really remember anything about it, so...
it was good. It was good, and it was all right.
This is without a doubt, I think, probably our longest review, isn't it? Coming up to almost 2 hours on this one.
This is true, yeah.
We knew it was going to be a big one, though. And to be fair, we did get sidetracked talking about Toy Story, Indiana Jones, and many, many other things Unfrozen related. Cole says, did you get your Lord of the Rings poster signed, Chris? Yes, I did. So this was the ultimate dilemma I had. So I got Fellowship of the Ring signed. What I've done with my signatures so far is, because I've got the 3 posters, I've got the actors to sign the film that character was first introduced in. So Liv Tyler is on all 3 posters, and part of me was like, do I get her to sign all 3? Will I regret it if I don't? Part of me is a little bit, but also she was a lot of money. So I'm like, you know what? She'll probably do another convention at some point once the money dries up. So maybe I can consider it then. But then if I do decide to get her on 2000 Return of the King, I then need to get Elijah Wood on that one, and Return of the King, and Sean Astin on that one, and all the Hobbit, and everyone that I've already got on the other 2, which will be an absolute nightmare and cost a lot of money. So yeah, I just got her on Fellowship of the Ring, and I haven't put it on my wall yet, which is why there's a really annoying OCD inducing blank space right there. But when I get time, it'll be back on the wall. And yeah, oh, that woman, she was an absolute sweetheart. I'm still riding the high off meeting Liv Tyler. It was yeah, I can understand why Aragorn fought an army of orcs for her. Let's just put it like that. What have we got coming up on the channel? So at some point this week, we'll be doing our Penguin review. I think the last episode's either up tonight or tomorrow. I've got 3 episodes to watch, and we will be doing a discussion on that one. We were going to do it week to week, but actually, after watching it, I think it's probably a good idea to review it as one complete story. Yeah, some TV shows are like that. And honestly, just as a little teaser for it, I'm absolutely loving it. It's probably one of the best TV shows I've seen in a long time, giving me very, very strong Daredevil season 1 vibes. Really good stuff. So I'm hoping it sticks the landing. As I say, I've got 3 episodes watched, so hopefully it ties it up and maybe even gives us a clue or a glimpse as to where it's going to head into the Batman 2, perhaps, if it sets stuff up for that. Yeah, if it happens. What else? I will be doing more stuff with Everything in Middle-earth. There was a teaser trailer, or a tease for a trailer, that came out today for War of the Rohirrim, so I expect we're probably going to get another trailer for that in the next couple of days, so I'll be joined with Everything in Middle-earth as soon as that goes live. Anything else? I think that'll be it. I need to do an unboxing video as well when I have free time. I'm trying to get through it, guys. But yeah, the next video is either going to be me and Everything in Middle-earth for an impromptu War of the Rohirrim review, or it's going to be me and yourself talking about some DC stuff in Penguin. It's going to be fun. Big thank you to everyone that's tuned in and watched us prat along for Frozen and a bunch of other stuff for the last 2 hours, and for keeping the conversation going. Ticket is booked for The Wild Robot, so if you guys want to see a review for that, look out for that sometime next week. And until the next video, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.